10 years in prison for being on the ground at a protest and observing what is going on, documenting what is going on, informing the public about what is happening. That's 10 years in prison? It's absurd. It's absolutely absurd.
When journalists Don Lemon and Georgia Fort were arrested last Friday, I reached out to a press freedom watchdog that investigates arrests, intimidation, and persecution of journalists around the world.
The Committee to Protect Journalists is a global organization. We promote and protect freedom of the press worldwide. What is actually happening is 2 journalists are facing federal indictment in relation to their reporting. The fact that 2 reporters are currently, at the time that I'm speaking to you, in government custody should cause great alarm.
Although Lemon and Fort were released later that day, their arrests raised deep concerns about the state of press freedoms in the U.S. today.
If you can arrest a journalist, what value is the First Amendment anymore? They are protected. Freedom of the press is protected. So is freedom of speech more broadly. And it really strange credulity to think that this is what the founding fathers intended when enshrining those rights.
Do the arrests of Lemon and Georgia Fort signal something new?
This is incredibly, highly unusual. People keep throwing around the word unprecedented when talking about various press freedom cases in the United States. And I'm still looking for a synonym because it almost feels meaningless at this point. This indictment is the latest in a long line of attacks that really cut at the core of First Amendment values and rights that we as Americans have come to enjoy and perhaps take for granted.
Jacobson says this isn't a partisan issue. It's about what happens when arresting journalists becomes routine.
If this was happening in a different administration, we would be just as upset at the Committee to Protect Journalists because this is creating a pathway to clamp down on free speech in a way that the American public has not seen.
Do these arrests bring to mind anything that you've seen either elsewhere or at other times in U.S. history?
We've seen these patterns before. We've seen this playbook. But what's happening in the United States is happening at such a faster rate than in other authoritarian countries or countries without freedom of the press, like Russia, I would posit.
But Jacobson says that the bigger story is that moments like this show why their work still matters.
What journalists are doing has never been more important and more critical. We have also seen the ways in other countries, right, where journalism eventually holds power to account. And looking at that longer arc of history and thinking about the long term rather than the short term difficulties, I think is incredibly important.